The purpose of that statement was to draw your attention to the President's refusal to assent to 4 critical bills passed by this House, 3 private members' bills, and 1 public bill during that address, and reject the attempts by the Executive Secretary of the President through his contemptuous letter to instruct the Clerk to Parliament, an officer of Parliament whose position is recognizably under the Constitution. We shall not cease and desist. Honorable Member, I'm watching you.
Hello, many again in your cherry team. Put your mom 1 minute, Miss Simple Papa Namazinam. In night, the CCI, you see, why is in Miss Casama is now movia, especially in a wild brooch. Who builds return. No way push out so organ or return. Net DBP, I ha. Ne feel there or they could overtime. They be my main count for online digital business. Me famo. Online digital business. Obia to me be a pastor's full womb, doctor's womb, nurse's womb, cleaner's womb. When now we ambitious, they will pay the watch will have changed now. When now are plugged into the system. Now messy there, more you do won't put it there. Add done no business or run at the background. Businessy, wabwam, meet me to your bills na, wabwam, meet me why he has. This year, me who Ghana call cramming, so me pick with confidence because me in there, says kind of wisama, Yamina do many beams that send one. It is a pedia bedroom business here. For what's in our email address, special me link name. I said, na into BBS, I mean, number no trouble was screening to frame, na mitra watum. Na, mammy who were inside, na both businessy na ye
Abusia for say no as to what I say His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo bill LGBTQ+Bill ya pass e wo Parliament House no as where so be sign no say dia kwakwa ya dey wo social media no so na sanso na wonim say ye ne secretary Nana Asante bedi etuo enso ascend warning ne threats e dia koma clerk or more Parliament House say Omusha ye ana omanfa LGBTQ+Bill no amba ambeche na Nana Addo Akufo-Addo se wonfa ne nsa enhyehyɛ krata sanso ana nim say ye AJ onumunyamfo Godfred ye boadame enso e de woni bia ma His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo say ene no LGBTQ+Bill wa mo pese wo de ne nsa hyase sensan ma bibia be ye mra e wo Ghana ha say no nkrofuko bi nso e de aba bedan court so no so nka bi mo esan say mo right ana Parliament House one person mo tietia so ni na wonim ene no nsem bi ko social media so beef alert ene no koso between His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo and the Speaker of Parliament Alban Suleiman Kingsford Babe omuntema enya asem kuto say the beef everywhere baby beef no wo hosa so funumo bloggers so wan yo send your katache frifa ene Captain Smart so asol beef kese pan wo Ghana ha say no enu bi anene no koso wo ye the President of the Republic of Ghana onne Speaker of Parliament esanso edema Ghana omuntema ha fresh gossip GH American akacho say news update enkanso da eno ane so ne so de besomo wo afidikesi so de hiane so be subscribe page ama me se ne be ya ensampa ekoso social media no so drop ya onsa ebetimi aka bi na so hu de eko ene dia ba se ndi kan kai we aggressive beef alert ane ne no ekoso wo Ghana ha wo bra Alban Suleiman Kingsford Bagbin return here from conference I will call ye wo buchimemu na wo ba yo be pie mu Ghana ha wo busa say say LGBTQ+ e do koma Nana Addo Akufo-Addo so mfa ne nsa hyehye krata asema ne be ye mran wa ya na eno ana mo bo mu nchirimu say ene no agent attorney general onimonyamfo Godfred ye boadame ensi hwe Nana Addo Akufo-Addo amfa ne nsa anhyasie esanse se asem ebepiem wo court a yentimi fi nsa anhyasie ma ne be ye barasanso ana secretary di man Nana Addo Akufo-Addo ye onimonyamfo Nana Asante bedi eto so e de wo ne akwakomo mu ntino eno so mu ntimi nye hwe emfa weno ana ne no Bagbin wo Parliament House wa address some issue bia ene no pese me de besom ne wia ono so ne threat no dia man Nana Addo Akufo-Addo wo ye vet no pese ye vet ni ministers ene no appoint omo wo Ghana no nso ye kwakotie nkrato a ode man Nana Addo Akufo-Addo nanso many kan enkotie ne first speech ni ba ne ba ministers ne nso nsem no ye bekoso.
I want all of you to lend me your ears. The statement I'm going to formally deliver is so crucial to the existence of not just the institution of parliament, but of democracy in this country. And so I want to plead with all of you to pay attention. The good people of Ghana, I'm sure, will pay attention. Honorable members, I address you today amid circumstances that profoundly challenge the core principles of our constitutional democracy. At the outset, I must express my profound regret concerning the conduct displayed by the President following Parliament's successful unanimous passage of the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill 2024. The behavior exhibited by the President in refusing to accept the transmission of this bill not only deviates from established democratic practices, but also undermines the spirit of cooperative governance and mutual respect for the arms of government. This is a principle that forms the cornerstone of our political system. Such actions, if left unchecked, risk setting dangerous precedents that threaten the integrity and functionality of our democratic institutions. To situate this statement in the appropriate context, it is crucial to acknowledge a disturbing pattern emerging from the President, which points to a concerning disregard for the foundational principles enshrined in the Constitution 1992. This pattern has once again been made evident in the President's recent refusal to accept the presentation of the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill. The recent move is not isolated. It forms part of a series of actions that undermine the legislative process. As you may recall, I addressed this House on the 22nd of December 2023 in a formal statement. The purpose of that statement was to draw your attention to the President's refusal to assent to 4 critical bills passed by this House, 3 private members' bills, and 1 public bill. During that address, I underscored the troubling nature of the President's justification for his actions, or rather, the lack thereof, particularly highlighting that his failure to assent on grounds of alleged unconstitutionality paradoxically stood in violation of the very Constitution he invoked. Despite the gravity of this matter, it is disheartening to note that there has been no progress in rectifying the situation concerning those significant pieces of legislation. They remain in a state of limbo, unreturned to Parliament, detained by him, and unacted upon, following the President's communication, which lacked substantial legal justification. This ongoing scenario poses a grave threat to our legislative authority and, by extension, the democratic principles we try to uphold. The implications of such executive actions extend far beyond the immediate legislative items at hand. They erode the foundational checks and balances that our forebears painstakingly established to ensure a vibrant and functioning democracy. When important legislative work, the product of rigorous debate and consensus building within this House, is disregarded without just cause, it not only disrespects the legislative branch, but also disenfranchises the citizens that we are sworn to serve. This blatant disregard for legislative processes and constitutional mandates risks setting a perilous precedent that could weaken the very fabric of our governance structure. Honorable members, on 19th March 2024, my attention was drawn to a letter issued by the Executive Secretary to the President, Nana Asante Bediatu, addressed to the Clerk to Parliament, which letter is clearly, in my opinion, contemptuous of Parliament. The letter outlined that the Clerk ought to, and I quote, cease and desist, unquote, from attempting to transmit the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill 2024 to the President for necessary action in accordance with the provisions of our Constitution. In the said letter, the Executive Secretary indicated that the Office of the President was aware of 2 pending applications for an order of interlocutory injunction seeking to restrain the Clerk and from transmitting the bill to the President. It further indicated that the Honorable Attorney General had on 18th March 2024 informed the President that he had received the 2 applications and had advised the President not to take any step in relation to the bill until matters raised by the suit are determined by the Supreme Court. As a result, the President, via the Executive Secretary, conveyed to the Clerk that it was unable to accept transmission of the bill. Honourable members, my attention has also been drawn to the 18th March 2024 letter from the Honourable Attorney General being referred to by the Executive Secretary to the President, Nana Asante Bediatu, above. In the said letter, that is the letter from the Attorney General, I note that the Attorney General used the phrase, and I quote, I will respectfully advise that a decision to assent to the bill be made after the determination of the application for interlocutory injunction, unquote, and not an advice to the President not to receive the bill from Parliament. It is therefore interesting that in view of this clear and unambiguous advice from the Attorney General, which I disagree with, to the President. Speaker of Parliament, Aban Suleiman Kingsford Bagbin, Addo today. I will say this is not the first time, the second time, the third time, the fourth time. Yadibu Biakwa President of Ghana, Nana Addo Kufuor Sesebiu, on Fanensa, and Shenkratas, Nabibia, Intimbayemra, Ewa Ghana has also seen Pino the Kwana Paya bought to a woman, yes, and say a fine Kosiha, Nanina, Yakanina to a Gunenso, LGBTQ+1, my bill on personal passing, Nana Po, Yabe passable, no, yes, sir, and you also, the minister say, nay, no, do my BPM, our Parliament House, say, vet or we will so many system, you meet my year, Ghana, near her so means me be a young one in 2 winning name of a brave, and also say on what in Kratu, Mano. Say, AJ, a young Godfrey, what damn say a some more quarter, yen to me, and fat, yen some question, Kratas, and name a young Radia, and also can say, and they know a young minister, so almost veteran, or Aquacopium more court, into wine, and in Robert Nasser and Sasha Siaba Bay veteran, ready a man and Adam Koku send a bear, the minister sees so a bit to me, I say, Juma say, our Ghana has a mere Babe, or brother was serious encounter. Chair yen another Addo Kufuor LGBTQ+Bill Nanado Pesodene Sa Ebeshasi than the people in power. The President's refusal to accept the transmission of the bill is, by all accounts, not supported by the constitutional and statutory provisions that guide our legislative process. The Constitution clearly delineates the steps to be followed once a bill has been passed by Parliament, mandating the transmission of the bill to the President for assent or rejection. Therefore, the refusal to even accept the bill for consideration falls outside the legal bounds established by our constitutional framework. If the President has concerns about the bill presented, the President refers the bill with the concerns for further consideration of Parliament. When that is done by Parliament and it is represented to the President is by law bound to assent to the bill. That is what is in the Constitution. Ghana, the President has no power of veto. Honorable members, this House has been duly served with 2 injunction applications in respect of the bill. The applications titled Richard Sky versus the Parliament of Ghana and the Attorney General, and the second, Dr. Amanda Addo versus the Speaker of Parliament and the Attorney General. The Executive Secretary to the President noted in his letter that, and I quote, "It is settled law that during the pendency of an interlocutory injunction application, the status quo ante ought to be preserved, and no action be taken that will result in prejudicing the injunctive relief sought and undermining the authority of the court," unquote, and reject the attempts by the Executive Secretary of the President through his contemptuous letter to instruct the clerk to Parliament, an officer of Parliament whose position is recognizably under the Constitution. We shall not cease and desist. Honorable member, I'm watching you. And I hear what you say. Be that as it may, honorable members, I also bring to your attention the receipt of a process from the courts titled Roxanne Nelson Eche K. Dafiamapo versus the Speaker of Parliament and the Attorney General, suit number J1/12/2024, which process was served on the 19th, that is yesterday, March 2024, and an injunction motion on notice seeking to restrain the Speaker from proceeding with the vetting and approval of the names of the persons submitted by His Excellency the President until the provisions of the Constitution are satisfied. Honorable members, in the light of this process, the House is unable to continue to consider the nominations of His Excellency the President, to use the language of the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, quote, "in the spirit of upholding the rule of law," unquote, until after the determination of the application for interlocutory injunction by the Supreme Court. Honorable members, this is the precedent that is being set by His Excellency the President for all Ghanaians to follow. So any matter that comes before Parliament, any Ghanaian can issue a writ and follow it with an application for injunction, and that is enough to injunct Parliament from proceeding with the consideration of the business in the House. Honorable members, I thank you all for your attention, and may God bless our homeland, Ghana.
For some way, and of course, social media and some Jabba Somo, a word for the cases. So, high fresh gossip, very kind. I catch us news, papa, ene no air trend with social media no so efa ya manyo semu dia ha sei ana ubenya no sanso ana channel so amse nyumakuo bi ana mpempre no mo so ya sene me de nsempa we ebeso mo so mo nka ye ho a yentimi betena ha bia enum enka bia enchewe Addo roofing me say roofing sheet papa efie ene ho safe na wusi wudan se wasi dan na wie ye de eye dan dada na woboso abi na pese mo paso kra de o mo roofing sheet papa yi chance dan papa yi ebego su ma wo dia ene ye di hiane se wo be from mo e wo number ya eskweli wo screen ya si se na bia so betini o mo edi nsa wo so eye sika kuma bi na obetwia na eye roofing sheet a wo pay na no mo de ba be so mo e wo bia ya wo di hiane so betina wo ba bia from mo o mo de sa roofing sheet no ebeba roofing sheet we ejina mu pampia kokwa dikia ka wo se nipa kora no sa roofing sheet we ye de boat so na de na ma no ye pampe wintimi nya hwe nti so pese wo dansie no ejina so ma wo de dia ene Addo roofing sheet enchese papa fie pa ana me kan fama so beko na won so no mo akodi nsa wo so a sei ana me nsem nyina ebesie di no ba akopɛ aso na ka kire adwakuru ne dem na metena se dosu kɔ won nsem ni bia kɔ so wo social media no so kɔ so like page share leave comment and subscribe mame macra